Hello, welcome to Cracked Movie Club, the show where we do a book club, but for movies. Do you like books, but better? I'm your host, Jordan Breeding, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jesse, because I think my other co-host, Allie, is either maybe getting married or will at some point be married, and I didn't write it down when, so maybe right now, according to Jesse.
I
Say hello, Jesse,
think
and
it's
then also tell
hello.
us your thoughts.
I think it's today. I think Allie, if you're watching, pop in the comments and let us know otherwise. But I'm pretty sure it's today. So everybody wish Allie a happy wedding.
If you're bored in the pew or whatever.
Yeah. She
Um,
also maybe, it might be she might be mourning the death of friend of the
her
pod,
her
Queen
singleness.
Elizabeth.
Oh, Queen Elizabeth, rest in peace. Right before we went live, I was trying to get somebody to tell me why that matters. I mean, it's not nice when people die, but I don't. Some people, I saw some Slate article that was like, "This is just the beginning," which titled that way
What?
makes it sound like the whole royal family's about to die of something, which would be kind of awesome. But they were
It's an
also
It
they were
Follows
like,
situation, and now it is following the next in the bloodline. That's a good idea for a movie.
"Oh, you know what? Maybe it was just the beginning of the bad medical information because the article was updated that like, oh yeah, she's dead now." But even still, it just felt like. Also, yeah, shout out to Michael learning that the Queen is dead. Do you
Sorry,
care?
buddy.
What? Who cares? I
I think
mean,
it's interesting that she's like a living relic. She was like a portal to history, the proud history of, I don't know, colonialism or whatever. It was
yeah.
interesting that that she existed, but I have no affinity for her.
I mean, I guess I could see it being interesting in the way that I think it's interesting to watch Tom Brady play football because I'm like, well, I'm observing something that is going down in a lot of record books, and that's cool. How fun to be able to witness it. So I'm glad I'm here with you guys as she bleeds out or whatever is going
Yeah,
on.
imagine she like she like tripped into a knight holding a sword. What a way to go out, man.
She was trying to
Yeah,
knight a guy, but dropped it on her foot.
yeah.
Oh
And got
God!
sepsis.
It is an
Poor
old
poor
timey.
lady.
I mean, it's not actually an old timey thing, but it feels like this. All right, so whatever. We're watching. Speaking of death and marriage, or at least women, bodies, bodies, bodies is what we watched. It's a newer film, but
Mhm.
we are reviewing it just late enough for this to be incredibly irrelevant. So you can blame Jesse for that. That was really Jesse's our resident SEO expert. It's good at getting views.
I had a tab open from 3 weeks ago that said "Bodies, Bodies, Bodies" was hot.
Yeah, this is just the beginning of the bodies, bodies, bodies discourse. But anyway, for those of you that haven't watched us on this live stream before, and if you've watched long enough in this to not immediately comment like everybody does, oh my God, an hour-long review of a movie that's almost a movie-length review. It's a podcast, and it's a live podcast, which means you can say things in the comments, and sometimes we'll respond to them, and sometimes we won't. But Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is a movie. Sorry,
Mhm.
Terry, that we're cold-hearted. You know who's cold-hearted? The Queen.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy. Oh, jeez.
She's cold as ice. But anyway, we're also going to do alternate movie titles, which for the first time ever, I have very, very few because I didn't think
Oh,
to
so
do
do I. Shit.
very many. I have two, which is fine. And so we need you all to give us alternate movie titles if you've seen this movie. And honestly, if you haven't seen this movie, just pitch some titles. Who knows? Maybe you'll figure it out as we go. All right, I'm going to recap.
Hit it.
Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is an A24 film. And so it sort of comes with all that baggage that you might expect. It's artsy. It starts with two ladies tongue kissing.
Oh, yeah.
So you know you're watching art.
I never seen that before. I didn't know they could do that. Two chicks
Well,
kissing with tongues.
now that the Queen's dead, it's going to be rampant. Just all social order will descend or be destroyed. Anyway, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. So these Gen Z hip rich children are hanging out at a house, a mansion, because the parents are out of town, for what they're calling a hurricane party. There's going to be a hurricane, and they want to hang out during the hurricane because they're rich. I don't know. That's what rich people do. And when they're there, the power goes out. They want to play bodies, 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 which is it's sort of like a live action role playing version of the card game Mafia. If you've ever
Hmm.
played that, where
Yeah.
it's like basically one person's the killer. They run around the house, the lights are off, and they kill people, and then you come back together and you vote on who you think did it. If you get it right, game's over. If you don't, you do another round, etc. Until enough people have died that you win. But of course, somebody dies for real. Dun, 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 and then they're trying to figure out who done it. And then more people die, and that's the entire movie. I do want to talk about the ending, but people yell at us for spoilers all the time. So just know that it's coming.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the ending. Jesse, why did we watch this film other than that it was hot
It's hot, man.
a month
It's
ago?
I was in the mood for two specific things. Good Halloween fare, just a cool new spooky movie to watch, and also just hadn't been to the movies in a while. So I went on the internet, google.com, and I looked up my local movie theater, and I saw what was playing, and Bodies, Bodies, Bodies looked good. I feel like there was hype around this before it came out, and then I completely forgot it existed until I was like looking for a movie to watch. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if you're familiar with any, I don't know, marketing or production stuff. I couldn't find anything.
I think it's just A24. At this point, A24 kind of every time an A24 movie gets announced. I mean, it did well in some festival or something. It did like
saw that.
South by Southwest. People saw it. The reviews were pretty good. It's one of those movies that technically got all of its Rotten Tomatoes score 6 months out or 4 months out or whatever. So there was kind of like a, whatever these critics were like, it's great. You're going to love Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And so there was sort of that hype, but I still feel like it was mostly like a Twitter hype, like a, film Twitter, creative people on Twitter, not really necessarily like a broad, it's not a freaking Marvel movie or whatever. And it's only made 11 million. So it's not like it crushed.
That's more than you've made. I think also,
or will
Pete
ever
Davidson,
make.
Yeah, I think Pete Davidson, there was a very specific moment in time where like everything he did was interesting and rad and everybody wanted to see it. I still think it's interesting and all that, but I think that luster has worn off, and so people are like, whatever. He's also not in it that much.
Yeah. And actually, I'm sorry, I'm seeing some things. Yeah, we got a bunch of Boob Gates stuff, and I'm warning about Boob Gate. I was wondering if we could bring Brian onto the pod. Brian's in the comments right now, but Brian, can you explain Boob Gate to us? You want to hop in here?
What's a rubber nipple, Brian?
That's a good question, Cannonball Guy.
Brian, tell us about
Cannonball Guy has hair.
Boob Gate, the great issue of our times. Go.
This just in. So I don't really know any of their names. I also didn't see the movie, so I couldn't even tell you who the character is. But so the New York Times movie critic, one of them wrote a not so great review, basically being like, I think the line that got a lot of attention is she called it like ad for like a Charlie XCX single and cleavage. And that that reviewer, who is a lesbian woman, she got reached out to by one of the actors who is also a lesbian woman, and that woman was like, "Hey, maybe you'd enjoy the movie if you weren't staring at my boobs the whole time."
Oh, I remember that.
So then the critic
was
boobs
like, in the movie, yeah.
So the critic was like,
locked in,
like, "Hey, I'm getting like fucking bullied by this actor who's like, I'm really disappointed, like they're being mean to me." And then the actor was like, "I was being like flirtatious and joking, and I thought that like we'd have like a mind melding. We're both like queer women, so we would understand." So now all these people are like dogpiling on the critic, and ultimately no one made the right decision. But so now this person's been like people found out that the critic's dad is like an editor for the New York Times, and like they deleted all their social media, and like you know, there's just like all this information about them being a nepotism hire, and like them calling like another gay person a homophobe and shit, and it's just like everyone was using the wrong words, and it was a big oopsie daisy.
Brian, what would you say are the correct slurs to use in this story?
Like the big, just do like the wolf face where the tongue rolls out and like and all that.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
So wow, I forgot all about that. I wonder if maybe that's why it was even on my radar to begin with. Like maybe that was the best marketing that this movie had.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a little bit after it's. I mean, surely it just got to you, and you were like, "Oh, boobs." All right, well,
they're setting up the sequel.
Is that true? Or is that a joke?
No.
Oh.
Anyway, thank you, Brian. That was very helpful. And that's why it's called Boobgate.
Boobgate.
And by Boobgate, I mean, I don't think anybody else is using that term except for me, because unlike Jesse, I am gifted at knowing what the internet wants. Just kidding.
Okay, hold on. Let's see how many concurrents we got right now. We have a solid amount of concurrents. People want to hear about bodies.
No, they want to hear about Boobgate.
What'd you name the stream? Boobgate?
Yeah, aka Boobgate.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay. Yeah.
Design.
Kudos.
Clever. Okay, so let's do this. I think you liked this more than I did.
Probably.
I didn't dislike it. I just I wanted more. I wanted more, Jesse. So here's what I want to start with.
Quite low. Good.
It's a comedy. You know, it's a horror. I mean, it's not even really a horror, but it's like a thriller comedy. And so a lot of the praise has gone to sort of the writing, the script, etc. Which it's funny because the woman who wrote it, she writes short stories and stuff, and she wrote this as a spec script, and A24 bought it, and then they had somebody come in and rewrite it so thoroughly she just has like a story by. They just destroyed it, which I think is really interesting. But for whatever the script does well, as far as like their dialogue and their banter, because that's what 90% of the movie is people trapped in this house kind of yelling at each other. I have a really tough time. I was saying this to Brian before the stream started. I just have a hard time getting excited about movies where a bunch of young people yell at each other over top of each other. And I'm just like, fuck you, you're dumb. And I just, something about it just really, like, it didn't destroy the movie for me or anything, but I just don't like it that much. I don't like everybody talking over everybody in this big gaggle of like adult children kind of complaining and fighting and being terrible. It just, I don't know. It didn't let me connect. So I'm curious, what's your favorite line from the movie? If you think it's so funny.
I gotta remember. I mean, it definitely came from sort of the ditzy girl with the neon necklaces and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly. She was really, really funny. The crowd like audibly gasped and sort of booed when she, spoiler, died. Almost everybody died. Sorry.
Yeah,
she was very funny and endearing. So I know what you mean about the sort of like cross talk of just like millennial or Gen Z gibberish. But I thought it was actually pretty interesting because like a lot of the stuff that they were saying, they were coming off as vapid, but they were actually important things. Like they're talking about like why it's important to talk about mental health. They talk about why it's important to like watch your own like ableist vocabulary, things like that. But they were saying it in a way that like it was just like whiny and entitled, and it just sort of like seemed like a new angle. I don't know if it was trying to, but it seemed to be saying like, choose your words carefully, choose what hills you want to die on carefully, because like you can absolutely water down any argument that you think is really important. If you are just in a petty argument with your friends and you decide to bring up like, you know, ableist language or whatever, like maybe that's not the time to do it. Maybe that's not like, don't make your whole personality policing people's vocabulary. I don't know.
Sure.
It was just something. The delivery was great. The line readings were fantastic, but I also thought there was something funny about seeing these like serious subjects used as just cudgels by like some, dumb entitled brats.
So to clarify, the thing that I didn't like is less about what they were saying, although some of that, and more about the why don't we just have everybody yell their lines all at once? There are obviously scenes. I mean, I think the scene that you're mostly pointing to is kind of at the end. I want to say like four of the women are they're the only ones left, and they're trying to. One of them's got a gun, and they're all kind of trying to figure out who's doing it and who's bad and who's not. And they are sort of more taking turns in that moment. And I do think the satire is. I do think they're sort of pointing out that Gen Z is maybe a little quick to start bringing that stuff up, and maybe
That's a much more concise way to put it. Yeah.
I do think it's it is interesting because it's not like it's a bunch of white dudes doing it. It is a bunch of there are minority actresses, they're all women. There's somebody from like Eastern Europe, which is weird. And so there is kind of an interesting maybe they would be more able to talk about some of these things more legitimately, but the way it's being used is very hollow almost, where they're just using it to win this argument to get them to shoot the other person. It's not they're not having like a very thoughtful discussion about all of these issues. They're just sort of
That's true, because they in the process, like with every line that they used, they were throwing each other under the bus. They were like sacrificing their friendship or like the fragile bonds that hold these friendships together. They were finally like spouting these hard truths like, you're a bad actor. Nobody likes you. Your podcast sucks.
Shut up.
They were like setting off all these nuclear bombs and sort of detonating it with words like, that's a little ableist, like they weren't trying to actually improve anybody's habits or anything like that. They were just, all of them were just out for blood.
Right. And we got this comment already that yes, it's kind of realistic how people act under duress. A lot of yelling, not a lot of actual communication, which is true. But again, Brian and I were talking about this. And it's like, okay, but I don't like watching people fight in real life in shitty, dumb ways. So it was hard for me. It's kind of like, okay, so when I saw Tiger King, everybody thought Tiger King was great. It's so fun. How crazy are these people? And the whole time I'm sitting there being like, oh, this is just my dad's side of the family. It's just a bunch of sad, like depressed, like drug using redneck people. They have tigers. My dad's family doesn't have tigers, but I'm remembering like, I don't even know how any of them are related to me.
Of God go I.
But they're just like, I got this one cousin uncle, I don't know what he is, sitting in the corner, and he's like really quiet now because he crashed his motorbike and his head got caved in or whatever. And, it's just like all these sad.
Let's get this guy a show, man.
Yeah, low income people being sad. And so when I'm watching Tiger King, I'm like, it's not that wacky to me. It just looks like my sad family, but they also have tigers. And so anyway, I was saying again to Brian, really, Brian and I did an entire podcast before this. You really should have been there. It was great.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've been cheating on you, other podcast hosts, but we don't even film it. That's how special ours is.
You're describing a friendship, and I'm jealous.
Have you ever had one of those like private podcasts with a friend where you just meet up sometimes, you talk about stuff and you don't even record it? It's really weird. I think when I think of horror comedies, which is honestly one of my favorite genres, I really prefer or lean towards more, just thinking of recent ones or more recent ones like past decade, like Cabin in the Woods. I don't know if you've seen that. It is Joss Whedon, so it's got its own, potential sadness that you don't know about while you're watching it. Or The Babysitter is a random one with Samara Weaving. And they're a little bit more written, like a little bit more, they're not trying to, this isn't how Gen Z, I mean, they're also kind of meta. They're more talking about the genre a little bit, which I think is fun for me. Anyway, I didn't hate it. And it did have some good lines and the characters were pretty funny and stuff, but just that kind of everybody talking over each other, yelling delivery just made me, I don't know. I didn't like it.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's like when you hear like two cats fighting, you're like, this isn't a sound I want to hear more of. It just by its nature, it's, people arguing is unpleasant to hear. And if that's sort of the big, that's the emotional anchor point, is like rich kids arguing, then yeah, no, I see that. That's not something I'm psyched about listening
Which
to.
actually, yeah, that kind of segues into another thing. So I had this epiphany over the weekend. So my sister got married, and I'm assuming she doesn't watch
Oh,
this.
congrats.
Otherwise, I'd feel bad about saying this. But basically, the gist is, I was. Now I'm wondering. This is a public thing. Grace, I think Thomas is great. I think all of his groomsmen are great. There's nothing bad about any of it.
For who?
No. They're all super good dudes. The thing that I noticed is I wasn't really connecting with them super well. And you know me, I have private podcasts with Brian. Like I got so many friends. And I was like, I don't really know what they're kind of talking about. It seems like their priorities are weird. And we're putting on our tuxedos, and I'm trying to do a bow tie, which I can't do. And I was like,
I'm trying to do a bit.
And then we're not jiving with it. No. And I was like, what? I just asked one of them, I was like, why do you guys all have tuxedos? Like, who has tuxedos? And he goes, well, I guess a lot of us have rich parents. And so a lot of our weddings have been black tie weddings. And I was like, oh, so when you guys are always talking about different clothing brands and types of shoes and like different liquor brands and like classy things, it's not that I grew up poor or anything, but that kind of like, it felt like, as I was thinking about it, I think I mentioned this to you offline as well. I went to the bachelor party and they were all just standing on a dock drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been really in a party situation where it's like, we're all just here to drink and we're just yelling at each other about drinking and we're all just drinking. And the thing is the drinking. And I'm like, well, like, do you guys want to like play Halo while we drink or like do anything? But no, we're just sitting there. We're shotgunning beers. Stand. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it inherently. I just couldn't, it didn't connect for me. And I think this movie is ultimately about rich, entitled people. And I think a little bit of what it is all these guys also work in finance and stuff. And it feels like for a lot of rich people, sometimes what it can be is you make as much money as you can so that you can party as hard as you can. And in doing so, kind of cultivate these tastes of like, so you can buy a bunch of cool shit like tuxedos and like liquor and cigars. Yeah, it's swords. And I think, I don't know, there's some disconnect in me with kind of richer people that, and I hesitate to call them materialists, but just kind of like have cultivated taste in this way. Whereas I care about like the bands that I listen to or the movies that I watch clearly. And I just, this movie felt a little bit like, oh, it's like a bunch of rich people doing drugs and drinking, which is just a thing that I've never done really or identified with. And anyway, I think there may have been a disconnect there where I'm just like, I don't see myself in this at all. And I know it's Gen Z and I'm an old ass 31-year-old now, but I don't know. There's some disconnect for me in that.
I feel you. And in real life, off podcast, in my other non-broadcast podcast relationships, I definitely have those moments where, like, dudes in the group chat talking about like where to get the best cheese in Italy and stuff. I'm like, man, I don't know. I just went to Taco Bell 2 times in the last 3 days.
Sure.
That's not for me. And people aren't throwing enough euros at us here in this podcast for me to afford expensive cheese from Italy. So
throw us euros in the
we'll spend
which
it on
we won't even get. Yeah,
European cheese, we promise. No, I know. I'm not asking for money. I'm kidding. But yeah, definitely. And that's sort of a chip I've had on my shoulder since I was a kid. Right. So I grew up in like a pretty affluent area. But honestly, that little snippet of dialogue from this movie where it was so dramatic and so much emotion hinged on this argument of whether or not this girl's parents were upper middle class or not,
right?
Versus, I guess, middle class or whatever. Like, that was so fun. I feel like that was like something that probably in my 20s I noticed. Like, oh my God, like here I thought I was like really like roughing it growing up. And you realize, no, my parents were great. They were fine.
Yeah, sure.
But I definitely get that, like the culture that is available to and popular among people with a whole bunch of money is it's like, well, it's just, not fun and exciting to watch. It's like trying to watch a game of golf or something. Like, I don't get the rules. I'm not invested. I've never done this before, so I'm gonna go listen to Blink 182.
and I guess I'm not trying to say that it's inherently like wrong or people should be doing something else. I just
Sure.
I personally was missing something, and I didn't quite get it until he said, "Oh, I guess all of her parents are rich," and I was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that
that's a
makes
good point.
sense."
It's good that they
Um,
pointed that out. When I was watching it, I was trying to picture it like, as soon as I realized, all right, they're all rich, and I realized I'm not gonna resonate with that. I was just thinking of like what it's like to go ham with your friends when you've got at somebody's house for the weekend or something like that.
and I've never
And
done that.
trying
I
to
mean, not really. So there's just a lot of I just
now you've got
wasn't.
your own house and you can go ham with your daughters and your wife anytime you want.
I got like a Truly and like 3 Coronas in this fridge back here. I'm about to just rip
That'll
it.
take care of the kids for like a day and a half.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and again, so it was this way in college too, where, it felt like I didn't go to a nice college or anything, so I doubt any of them were wealthy necessarily, but it was still like the poor man's version of, "We just gotta go out and get blitzed and party," which again is fine, but I was like, will there be an Xbox or like
can
we're
I
gonna
can I bring
play.
my Yu-Gi-Oh stuff?
I just, for whatever reason, like we would stay back. I mean, we weren't drinking either, but like when we were 21 or whatever, we were watching martial arts movies and drinking. It's just
Hell
something about
yeah.
that has always been more appealing to me than just the literally just yelling at each other to drink more while you all kind of stand there on the dock. And this movie felt a little bit like that. Michael Dieters did point out, didn't you connect with him wanting to play the game, Bodies, Bodies,
Hmm,
Bodies? But that
very
even that game feels like a game that can't possibly be fun unless you're drunk and high. You know what I mean? It just feels like it's a slightly more involved beer pong where it's like nobody plays this unless they're it's not accentuating a thing that you would maybe already be doing whether there was or wasn't alcohol and
yeah.
drugs and whatever. It's just like I don't know. It's like, ooh, I bumped into a girl in the dark. I don't know. It just didn't. Anyway, I don't know.
I also think it was one weird like change in tempo was when they went from basically having a little rave to playing this game that required rules and quiet and darkness. I don't think there's any party where that's going to happen. Just because one girl
Okay,
turns
maybe
off the
not.
music, one girl turns off the music and is like, Everybody, shut up! We're gonna play this RPG." No one's gonna be like, "Yeah, hell yeah!"
Well, and they did do that. I mean, Pete Davidson was like, "This sucks. I don't want to do that." Like
True.
they did
Yeah.
have a lot of pushback, which I think that was very
That's
realistic.
true. Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
I also thought so. Before we get off the drug use, I thought that this was actually as far as like 20 somethings partying goes, this was a pretty accurate, I thought, or trying to be a truthful representation of that, because it's not just like, all right, you do like more more party drugs. It's just like more like juice in the tank and you just keep on feeling better and better. It like the more people did more and varied drugs, the more disoriented, the more paranoid they got. One girl literally dies because she just got too high and fell down the stairs. Sorry, spoiler.
Spoiler.
So that was interesting to follow along with. I found myself invested in that instead of just being like, all right, these are hot people partying. It's like, these are hot people who are doing everything they can to avoid recognizing what they're doing to their body and mind.
Sure. Yeah, I do think ultimately, as has been kind of pointed out, like the realism of this movie is a lot better than I would say the average horror movie. Like it feels pretty tight.
Mm,
I think it's cool that it wasn't some random, like they try to leave and they just can't because it's a freaking hurricane and the car got smashed and they can't find the keys. Like it was very believable, plausible in a lot
mhm,
of ways. The
mhm.
whole kind of scenario made sense. It was very tense. When they kill spoiler, when they kill Aaron Rodgers, I was very nervous during that scene because I was like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen, but somebody is in trouble. And
Yeah.
sorry, I saw Jordan was blocked for 5 minutes, and I was like, what the hell? And then it's Christopher Michael Jordan was blocked. Sorry,
Wow.
Christopher Michael Jordan. I don't know what you've done, but you scared me for a
You
second.
found our secret word of the day.
Yeah.
It's the C
um,
word.
is it?
Take everybody guess in the comments which C word you think I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, Eric, wait, why do you call That wasn't real Aaron. That wasn't Aaron Rodgers.
No, but it's close enough that you have to
Oh,
think
okay.
about it.
Yeah, I did have to think about it.
Because Aaron Rodgers is now old enough that with his long ass hair, you're kind of like, you kind of look like a substitute teacher, like probably has been in a band for way too long and is still picking up substitute teaching gigs to supplement it or something.
Mm-hmm. The type of
And he's
guy, he looks like the type of guy who would go away to a 22-year-old's dad's cabin to hook up with a girl he's known for 2 weeks.
Well, that's what he does. And he pays for it.
Sure does. He pays dearly.
Yeah. I do. The only weird thing is that whole hang up where they mentioned that he's a vet.
That was funny though. I like that.
It is funny. It was really funny. And they all thought that he was a veteran, like some kind of badass, because he is pretty like jacked in general. But it turns out that he was a veterinarian.
He's actually a veterinarian's assistant.
Oh, right.
Somehow funnier.
So he is like a substitute teacher. Like he's probably too old to be a veterinarian assistant. He just gave off that like, he's like, I'm just doing this for now, man. Like I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's funny. I him. Just like Aaron Rodgers, it's just he's quarterbacking for now, but that's not his dream.
Yeah.
He's gonna be a real vet someday.
Yeah. I made that exact gaffe in first grade, and it still haunts me. Where we were talking about holidays and stuff, and the teacher was like, "Oh, what holidays is coming up?" And I read the calendar. I was like, "Veterinarian's Day," and she thought it was cute.
And they kicked you out of school.
I did. Yeah. I disrespected the troops, and I had to go to a different school.
Oh my God! You would never be allowed in a Mission barbecue. Do they have Mission barbecues up there? Probably not.
I don't think so. No, we got better stuff to do.
There's a chain. I don't know where it's from, but it's called Mission Barbecue. And every day at noon, everybody stands up and they play the national anthem. You have to put your hand over your heart and all that stuff. It's it just makes me proud to be an American. At least I know I'm free.
You know you're free. Did anybody see that thing that was going around Reddit today where it was like this 9/11 themed menu from some restaurant in Virginia? I stopped to see if it was Dr. Ho's. It wasn't.
Of course it wasn't Dr. Ho's.
Shoot, I forget what some of the items were, but it was like first responder potatoes and flight 777 or whatever.
That's Mission Barbecue.
Really?
Hold on.
That is the funniest shit.
9/11 menu restaurant. Oh no!
One of them was like,
this is further than that.
Oh, okay. Well, what's Mission Barbecue's 9/11 themed thing?
It's not 9/11 thing, but they have hold on, I'll find it. They have like first responder potatoes or something.
Yeah. Oh, because they're not. I mean, you're never gonna get a Virginian to say French fries. I thought the blonde girl was French for a while. At first, I didn't detect an accent, and then the first time I did, I thought she was French until somebody said something about Russia. I don't know.
I don't think she's Russia. She's like vague Eastern European. Do they ever actually?
She's in the Top Gun canon.
Let me see if I can find it. Now I'm worried that I'm not going to find it. Oh, you can get an American Heroes Cup.
This one is okay. Patriot Day 2022 Seafood Sunday Freedom Flounder. You can get the Remember Teeny 9/11 oysters.
They didn't even try with that one.
Didn't try. Pentagon pie. Oh man. So anyway, go check it out, folks. I'm not gonna tell you where it is.
It reminds me of the that onion image. Have you seen it's like the Subway gets a lot of flack for their 9/11 ad, and it was like fly into savings. And it's like 2 foot long, and that guy like flying into it. Yeah. Yeah, you'll never forget these prices or whatever. But somebody did it for real. That's really exciting. I mean, you know why they did it is because now you know about it, and freaking 5,000 people are going to go eat there, even if it's angry eat. And then like, if 100 of them come back because they were like, "Wow, I was mad, but the wings were pretty good," then they've won.
This is the best oysters I've had this side of the Mississippi.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. I don't know how we went on that freaking
Well, 9/11's coming up. What are you guys doing for 9/11?
Never forgetting. I'll tell you
Never
what.
forget.
Actually, my best friend got married on 9/11, so I
Okay.
mostly just give him shit all
Sure.
around that time about how he should never. No, this is different. This is not the same person. I mean, it's the same.
It seems to be the
It's the
same
same
avatar.
logo, or yeah, avatar, but I don't
Ugh,
like it.
Tinder.
I like
Our
the old
girls break
one.
first.
Do they? All right. So here's the only other thing I wanted to talk about. And I know I always get into the situation where if I dislike anything about a movie, I mostly stick to that. And then it feels like I hated everything about the movie or whatever. But I didn't. I enjoyed the movie. It was funny in a lot of parts. It was gory, which I always think is fun. And it was interesting. And it was whatever. It was well shot. It was cool.
Yeah.
I didn't love the ending personally because
Connor Malley, hate that guy.
Yeah, screw that guy. No, basically, spoiler, here it comes. Here it
Already?
comes. The end of the movie. So it turns out that Pete Davidson's character was trying to open a beer with like some kind of, it's not a katana.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of blade it is, but some kind of freaking sword. And he somehow, well, not somehow, he aims it at his own face and tries to pop off the bottle top, and it slices his own throat, and he dies. And so
Michael Dieter's think it's a kukri, I guess.
Okay, yeah, sure. I don't know. And he is unable to tell anyone what he's done before he dies, and so they're like, "Oh my God, somebody killed him. We can't go anywhere. It's a hurricane, whatever." And there are lots of miscommunications and stuff. It was a comedy of errors. And I think for me, that's fine. Like, it's funny and it's weird and tragic. But it reminds me of, and I'm going to make this video someday, the worst final plot twist I've ever seen in a movie is, of course, a movie that M. Night Shyamalan worked on. Almost. It's called Devil. And the premise of Devil, you maybe saw these trailers back in the day. It's like 2010 or something. But basically, a bunch of people get on an elevator, the power dies.
Oh,
Power comes back on, and somebody's dead. And the whole movie is that. It's just like the 6 people, they're talking, they're trying to figure out who's doing it. Power dies, comes back on, somebody else is dead. And then, of course, the B plot is the cops run around trying to figure it out or whatever, trying to get the door open, or whatever. And, you get to the whole movie, and you're like, man, who did which one of these nerds did it? They all have reasons to, and the guy I thought I did died, so it's not him. It gets down to 2 people, and you're like, I legitimately have no idea who it is. I'm interested to see. And then the grandma, the old lady who died at the very beginning, rises up, and she is imbued, in fact, with Satan. And the answer is Satan has been killing them through the corpse of the old lady that Satan killed or whatever. And I was like, that is the shittiest, worst end of a whodunit ever. It's just
and
like...
now the film was called what again?
It was called Devil.
It was called Devil. Okay, well, they called their shot. But
it could have been metaphorical, and I thought that it was. They all had shady pasts. Their sins were catching up to them, etc. And I thought I actually would have liked if nobody, like if everybody had killed each other. That would have been interesting to me, because it was like, the guilty run when none pursueth or whatever. Like, it's a bunch of people who are evil and think the other person is evil, so they all kill each other. That would have been interesting. The fact that it was literally just Satan, like, bringing cosmic karma was so disappointing. And in this movie, it wasn't nearly as bad, but I felt something similar where I was like, oh, so like I could never have guessed it. All the people's backstories and stuff, except for potentially the same conclusion, which is they're all shitty people that have the capacity to murder others, and they all do pretty much, right?
Yeah. I mean, at least the 2 survivors each at least murdered a person apiece.
Right.
Yeah, I actually thought the ending was reasonably clever, because the whole time I was trying to figure out who could have done it. I didn't see it coming, and so they had me really invested in trying to figure out who had done it the whole time. But also I thought that it didn't feel like a cop out to me. Because they'd given so many red herrings. Like, there's a guy that was at the party yesterday who's mad and has reason to maybe want to kill people. I even thought maybe they did a good job of making each character pretty shady and like giving them reason and ability to murder at every turn. And
Well, except that
looking
some of
back
them aren't. The vet was in no way malicious at any point in the film.
but he'd circled the house on a map. You're right. He wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't malicious, but he was mysterious, and to their paranoid eyes, he could have done it.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
you're right.
I'm
I
just
guess I'm
saying.
talking more about the gaggle of final girls. Because like Pete Davidson and the vet were never going to be like main cast. They were always like cannon fodder, pretty much. But yeah,
true,
I thought it was pretty interesting. It was just like I like looking back at all the deaths. They did a good job of making it seem like it could have been done by like 4 different people or by nobody at all, and then to find out that it was nobody at all, pretty cool. I thought it was neat.
Yeah, and that's fine.
And I thought it's just such a funny twist also because they have all the horror tropes. Like it was pretty good as a horror movie, and then to subvert it, just looking back, it's like, of course, this is a Pete Davidson like vehicle where he gets to be a goofball for a few minutes. Like it was never going to be like this crazy contrived. There's never going to be like what's his name from Saw, a jigsaw kind of thing in this movie.
Sure. What I was kind of hoping for, and it doesn't really matter. I thought we were going to learn something crazy about Maria Baklava, whatever her name is, the Eastern European girl.
Blonde?
Because she obviously kills the vet, kind of just a lot of hesitation. not even a lot of hesitation. She puts him down, right? She hits him once, he gets up, she freaking ends him.
She was brutal, yeah.
Which is insane. And that's actually part of it, which is that kill was crazy. The other ones were never as, to me, as like impactful or as like as terrifying, honestly, as that one.
Right.
There's scary and weird deaths, but
yeah. Even when somebody gets thrown off a balcony onto a pile of glass bottles and stuff, like even that wasn't as scary and gory as the slashing back of the head murder of the vet.
Right. I mean, that was also very brutal. There's some very brutal kind of killings in this movie, which I appreciated. But I just think I don't know why. I because she was playing it so straight, like so. Oh, she must be innocent, except for the fact that she totally brained a dude to death. I don't know. I don't know why. I thought there was going to be some reveal about her character or somebody's character, but I feel like there was maybe never quite a second depth, which maybe makes sense because none of them did it. Like none of them were killers, but or I mean, premeditated killers or something. I don't know. It's not like a flaw in the movie. It was just something that I got to and I was like, I wanted like some extra reveal of somebody's past that wasn't like, oops, you heard the word wrong. He's not a vet. And they did do some of that where they're like yelling at each other about podcasts and their acting and how they hated each other and stuff. But there wasn't, I don't know, something extra.
Yeah, exactly. I feel you. I think that I forget if I was saying this on our pre-podcast friendship 5 minutes or or on the podcast, but I kept my expectations were very low, and I think that was key to me really enjoying this. It just seemed like it was going to be it was going to be a romp. It wasn't really taking itself seriously, except for the production quality was really good, and man. So I wasn't in that headspace where like after M. Night Shyamalan's like first 2 or 3 movies, you think it's going to be like he's going to kill it every time, and then the first time you're disappointed by him, it's devastating. I wasn't in that headspace.
Yeah, I had pretty high expectations just because the ratings were pretty good, and I like A24 stuff, and so I didn't dislike it. I just was sort of like, I was hoping that this would be a movie that I would, be running out of the theater crying and be like, everybody go see it, and I was like, yeah, it's fine, it was good.
Yeah, it's fine.
The what you're talking about is how I felt with Bullet Train, which is I went into it being like, whatever, it's a movie. I got a movie pass thing. I'll just watch the movie. And then I was like, well, I'm having a delightful time. I'm just Brad Pitt, he's flitting around, he's saying stuff. I love it. I'm having a great time. So expectations, that's why I just don't want to watch any trailers or know anything about any movies anymore. I kind of just want to go into stuff. Because it really could screw it up a lot, I feel like.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I keep meaning to do my research before I watch, but I keep not doing it, and it's worked out pretty well. I'm always, yeah, I don't know. I'm glad I didn't know anything about it except for that it looked fun on the friggin' poster.
And Boob says you can't go wrong with trains, which is true. You just
Trains.
can't.
Was there a train in this film?
There wasn't Bullet Train.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, all right.
Yeah, it was actually pretty central. Also, Bullet.
Just as the devil was pretty central to Devil, and yet you didn't see it coming. I would say that's the greatest twist of our generation.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was turning a grandma into itself and murdering people on an elevator. That's what they say. It's my favorite part of The Usual Suspects. Have you seen The Usual Suspects, by the way?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God, dude.
If it's not homework,
this is why you're going to get fired.
No. There's lots of other reasons. I've got them all cataloged.
All right, so let's throw it to the masses. Yes, Train to Busan is also great. Snowpiercer is great and had a good twist. It's a good point. I really like Snowpiercer, but I'm not alone in that. All right. This movie had the most unlikable cast, says Dave. I don't know about the most unlikable cast. I think the cast was fine. I think the characters were all written to be unlikable.
Very true, yeah.
I think. But I think they mostly overcame it. Like I thought they did fine. I liked Aaron Rodgers. And other than that, we have mostly just alt titles. Watch Wizards. Okay. Maybe I'll do that. Are we going to see Glass Onion when it comes out? Have you seen Knives Out, the first one?
No, I haven't. I've been seeing Glass Onion stuff popping up, so I feel like I should watch. I should get on it.
Knives Out is an incredible whodunit, in my opinion. It's very rewarding, just how it all comes together. The twist is very, very clever, very, very interesting. It's a delight. And so I don't know if we're gonna watch it, Michael, but I'm definitely gonna watch Glass Onion. I trust Ryan Johnson, generally speaking. Right, well, that's true. Doing a Netflix movie, a lot more people potentially have access to that faster than the theater. And then Joe Maximus, sup, Joe?
Sup?
I know Joe in real life says to watch Repo, the Genetic Opera. We have a offline podcast as well. We should watch that because it's one of the dumbest movies ever. Maybe we will. There's no telling what we will watch on any given podcast. We have no rules. We just, no ethics. We just kind of
no parents, no rules, no ethics.
No ethics. All right, let's do alt titles. Unless, did you have anything else that you wanted?
I did just remember that I had one of those experiences where I thought maybe I was watching a different movie than what I was watching.
Oh my God.
I thought at a certain point, I thought maybe the twist was going to be that all these murders didn't actually happen. This is just the game playing itself out, and maybe they're super fucking high and they thought it was happening or whatever, just because they told you that, like, the way this game always goes is people turn on each other and you get into like the darkest parts of your psyche and all that kind of stuff, and you sacrifice your friendship and that kind of thing. So I thought there was going to be some kind of twist where these murders didn't actually happen.
Well, I feel like, go ahead.
Well, or at least the deaths didn't happen, because you do sort of feel for the two survivors at the end, and you're like, how I couldn't help. I normally don't really think about the aftermath for people in horror movies, but like, they were pretty reasonably normal people who actually didn't have an axe murder after them, and like, how the fuck are they gonna like go about their lives? So that my brain was clinging to hope that maybe none of this happened for them.
Well, Eastern Europeans they're hardy people. She'll be fine.
Yeah, but her mom has borderline. What if she has borderline?
Yeah. No, I could see how you would get that. I mean, I think that was the. It's just it was taken further than it normally is, but this is how it always goes. It's just that this time they all
Yeah.
happen to die,
Yeah.
or whatever. So that is actually kind of solid and fun. All right, titles. Let's do it.
Titles.
Alternate titles. I only have a couple before, or do we usually do us first or them first?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
We could
Let's
do-
start with them.
Yeah, let's do
Keith Plott says, I have
Keith.
not seen this movie, but so far my vote for alternate title is Lipstick Lesbian House Party.
that. Yeah.
Not terrible. I mean, not inaccurate. We got Scuttlefield says Gen Z Clue, which is pretty much
Yes.
literally what it is.
Yeah, I like that. That really nails it.
We got Rich Kids with Problems from Rule School. Yep. Maybe the rich kids aren't all right. That could be good. Blue Frog gives us boobies. which
Very
we
nice.
mentioned.
Very good.
Pete Davidson and the Marlboro Bitches. I don't think they would let us put that anywhere. Bobby's, propane and propane accessories.
Very nice.
I don't know if these are Gen Z jokes. Oh, no. Jungle Juice in the Tank. Nice.
Very good. Very nice.
Barbecue. Excellent. Bodies 3. Bodies Squared. Kind of like
Bodies
Alien.
up to the 3. Yeah.
Let the bodies hit the
tickets.
floor. Thank you, Zealot Master of Boobies.
Very good. Oh, hey.
Aaron Rodgers, Big Break. I kind of like that. It's kind of also like Aaron Rodgers' Spring Break. Aaron Rodgers off season. There's something there. I like that. Cracked says, "Oops, all bodies."
Very nice.
Good job, Brian. Weekends with bodies. There you go. Pretty gay kids with problems.
Mm-hmm.
They're not all gay, but they did all have problems.
They're pretty gay.
Yeah, I mean they're like gayish.
Collectively, they're pretty gay.
Yeah, on average, pretty gay. All right. All I had was Boobgate, obviously, but that's mostly for you all at home. And I had No Done It.
Cool. See, now you're thinking. Now you're on board. You got your brain working.
That was the only title that I had that title at the beginning. It's always working. What do you got for me? Anything?
Well, I had boobies. I've also got Oops, All Final Girls.
Wait. What is the meme there? I'm not remembering like the beginning of it.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'm. Oh, like Oops, All Berries. You know, it's like a cereal thing where they like. You're not familiar. All right, so it's like kids cereal will be like usually it's like some berries and some like I don't know little corn shaped
berries. Yeah,
and then they're always like, oh, there's an accident at the factory, and now that's all berries in this box. Tune in to our podcast every week where we explain memes to Jordan.
I mean, what am I supposed? I don't know anything. Yeah, okay, Captain Crunch, whatever. My mom, we didn't eat cereal growing up. We didn't have TV, so we didn't watch commercials.
We had to roll our own oats. Got up at 3:00 in the morning to prepare our own steel cut oats.
I started playing backyard baseball at 4 a.m. and then I wouldn't go up until lunch. You know, that was my childhood. Nice.
You're stronger.
Oops, all bodies. Oops, all final girls. Both very funny. Any other ones? Jordan doesn't eat cereal. It's true. I don't.
I guess I've never seen him eat cereal. No, that's all. That's all I got.
Cool. So I'm gonna ask you something live on the pod so that it's you're beholden to it. Are you ready?
Oh no. Yeah.
Last time I was in New York City, I left my keys in the hotel and they have it in the safe, and I haven't figured out a way to get them. But you're coming to Virginia pretty soon.
Uh-huh.
You should bring my keys.
Okay. So you want me to go to the hotel you stayed at and break into
Yeah,
the safe? Is this a
No,
heist
no, no.
or we have permission?
No, they'll know. They'll know that you're coming.
Okay.
This is a modern.
Oh, they
yeah,
think they do. They think they will.
yeah.
They'll have no freaking idea.
But also, that's a convoluted way of saying that Jesse has helped me create a game show that we are going to be filming in 3 weeks, and I hope that it's good. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be.
I think it's good.
I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, it'll be great. We're filming it in the same place that we filmed the last round of Honest Ads. So if you like Honest Ads, it's like just as good and the same in every
It's
way.
basically, here's the premise. So you guys know Double Dare, right? And specifically the game where there's a flag up the nose. We're doing that, but with noses, with every orifice on the body. We're just going to have people climbing up into these 3D replicas of bodily orifices and getting flags.
Is this another Captain Crunch thing?
It's a Nickelodeon thing. Yeah, you're probably not going to get it.
Oh my God. I was born during the Gulf War, which means I didn't really come to consciousness until like 9/11, honestly.
Yeah.
The planes went down and I was like, what's going on in culture? The planes went down. The towers went down. Yeah.
Well, Nickelodeon was still on during 9/11. You should see Nickelodeon's live 9/11 coverage.
Yeah, but I still didn't have a TV. Oh, I mean, I had a TV, but it didn't play Nickelodeon.
Didn't get all the way up into the double digits. Yeah.
What are you guys talking about? I don't know what anybody's references are. I'm going to bed. I have children. I'm about to have a third child.
Oh wow! Wait, do we know that? Did I know that?
You should.
I remember now. Mazel tov from all of us here at
That was a quote from my own mouth. No, it wasn't.
What the thing?
I didn't.
What Brian said about.
You said I was born during the Gulf War and I didn't really come.
I guess technically you did say
all
that.
Right. Yeah, if you end the sentence there, fine. I hate my producer. Whatever. All right. Where can we find you, Jesse? Assuming that we ever want to.
If you ever want to find me, I'll be at Jordan's hotel in New York, trying to break into that damn safe.
Hell yeah.
Or find me on Twitter at Eisemann. Google it.
Yep. And you can find me on the Twitter at _J_breeding. And I'm just going to start mentioning it now. I do have a YouTube channel and there's basically nothing on it. But if I get fired, there will be. And you never know.
Watch this space.
Watch this space. They might not let me announce it if I get fired, but you'll know if you're subscribed to Dr. Jordan Breeding on YouTube. Also,
I'll slip it in there. If Jordan gets fired, I'll watch my blinking. It's going to be Morse code.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this. Maybe next week we will watch Lucky Number 11, but there's also a good chance that we won't. So if you want to watch Lucky Number 11, I promise we'll do it at some point. I'm just trying to get my friend to agree to film it with me because this is one of those movies that we bonded over when we were young and, loved Josh Hartnett or whatever. It's it. Yeah. Do I say something else? I used to have things where I was like, we're live streaming every Thursday at 4 p.m. Please subscribe to Crack Movie Club here, but we're also on, there's audio only versions on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. There used to be newsletter, but I don't think it does that anymore. I think that died a long time ago. Speaking of people quitting or getting fired. That's it. I'm done. I'm going to say goodbye. Bye.
Great. Bye.